What is up, y'all? Man, who would have thought the day would have damn came since going all the way back to the days of Emmett Till, the days of the Rodney King verdict, that all these decades of racial systemic oppression, that finally we can say that we got one. Like, we can finally say that we got one on a national level. And it's sad, it's satisfying to say, but it's also sad to say. On some real shit. Because it's sad to say that I don't think not one of us actually thought, based on the history of how things normally go with police officers getting charged, nobody thought this dude was actually going to get found guilty. That was that, like, we knew just by looking at the footage, obviously, from the medical examiners in all parts. You know, they just, it was so many things wrong with all these police cases that happened before, even when it was clearly evident that the police officers were guilty. We just didn't have a clue that they were actually going to find this man guilty on one charge, let alone three. Now, let me say this. For the people that was hoping for a first-degree murder charge, never going to get it. You're never going to get that, because for a first-degree murder charge, now correct me if I'm wrong, you have to prove that, without a shadow of a doubt, that the person who did the killing, the person who did the murder, had intent to go after that person specifically that day. They premeditated that they were going after that person that day, and they were going to kill that person whenever they see them. You know what I mean? So you're never going to get a first-degree murder charge out of trials like this, because it never happens. It literally never happens. However, to be found guilty of second-degree murder, and then found guilty of third-degree murder, and to be found guilty of manslaughter on top of that, those three back-to-back charges they carry all together. They carry a maximum sentence. I think second-degree murder carries a maximum of 20 or 25 years. Third-degree murder carries a maximum of, I think, 20 years. And manslaughter carries a maximum of, I think, like 5 or something. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I know the total of all of the charges, if given the maximum of all three, which I honestly don't think is going to happen, which is going to lead into another point. Or rather, I'm going to be shocked if it does happen. I hope, but, you know, this is America. So we know how they act. You know, they give you one little glimmer of hope and everybody start going crazy, but then they forget it's still a fight that needs to, you know, they still got to fight. You know, they still got to continue to put forth that energy and protest and making sure that the verdict gets reached. Now, mind you, I mean, not the verdict, but the sentencing. Because the verdict was found he was guilty on all three charges of second degree, third degree, and manslaughter. That was a victory. But it's not enough to be crying just yet. I mean, it's something that can bring tears to somebody's eyes, I can understand. Because we never even got this far, even with Pass, with Eric Garner and so many other ones, man. Like, but yeah, altogether the charges hold a maximum of 75 years. In other words, his life is over. even if they just give him 60 years, you know what I mean? 60. his life is over. I'm hoping, honestly, I'm literally hoping for no less than 50 with no chance of parole. Whatever they sentence him to, so for it to really feel like any amount of justice, he can't have no chance of parole at all. The court proceedings were actually funny. Like, if you read the minutes and you watch the videos from the court proceedings, it was funny as hell. The way the defendant attorney tried to make cases for Derek Chauvin and say that, you know, that George Floyd died for the drugs that was in the system. I haven't seen one medical report that said that George Floyd had any drugs in the system. Or there could be one. I just ain't seen it. And I've been looking. But yeah, that's basically that. And it was so laughable how they tried to defend it, even though from the witnesses to the medical examiners said, you know, this man died from not being able to breathe because you had your knee on his neck for like 9 minutes. I mean, it was for a long ass time. Forgive me if I'm giving this thing wrong, because I'm kind of walking, I'm kind of thinking of, like, you know, what I got to deal with when I get to work. But the important part is, you know, the first step of this is complete. This is the first step. The second step is the sentencing, meaning that we got to make sure that pressure continues to get applied so that they give him a fair sentencing. And when I mean a fair sentencing, I mean whatever they give him, it can't be, honestly, no less than 50 years. Because I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what that judge is thinking. I don't know what the prosecution, I don't know what the jury is thinking. Like, I just don't know what they're thinking. So, knowing how this country has done in the past with situations like this, at the very least, 50 years without parole. I damn near want to say 60 without parole, but I just got this funny feeling that some funny shit gonna happen. Or rather, because of what's happened in the past, I don't have any confidence they're gonna sentence this dude right. I want to have confidence in it because we seen a little bit of a glimmer of hope, but they just charged him. You know, the verdict, he was found guilty. You know, so. But yeah, that's that. But this wasn't just a victory for black folks. You know, this was a victory for the Latino community who never got any justice for all the cops that killed them. This is a victory for the Asian community and all the racist bullshit they have to deal with. Especially these days, you know what I'm saying, the Mexicans that have to deal with it. But getting back to the Asians, I need to speak on this hashtag Stop Asian Hate and this AAIP. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's Asian American Pacific Islander, like Samoans, you know, things of that nature. Anybody that's Polynesian, basically. But there has to be some sort of understanding with you guys. That anybody that supports that movement, be careful, man. And I mean be careful in the most sincere and humblest manner that I can say it. Because there are parallels between, you know, what's been happening with the Black Lives Matter movement, which I have avidly spoken against. I've said in multiple videos that as a message, I feel like it is needed. As a message, it needs to continue to be said. However, as an organization, I never trusted it. And I mean never. Because it was recently reported, I think, like, what, last year? Or the year before that? No, not last year, wow. Last week. Or either it was earlier this week or last week. Well, it was reported that the head of Black Lives Matter, the business side of it, the head of it, just purchased her a $1.4 million house. Geez, I wonder where she got that money from. When I see things like that, instantly what comes to mind is like those typical preachers that like to use God to basically make their millions. You know what I mean? Like, there's supposed to be some type of level of integrity. And it's not just, the BLM organization. It goes past that. Because I remember they came out with like a spending report for like all these nonprofit organizations like the Red Cross and Susan G. Komen, all these breast cancer awareness groups, and amongst other things, other organizations that label themselves as nonprofit. They literally came out with it was like a report on the money that they were spending on the causes that they protested, on the causes that they advertised they were using the money for, versus them, versus the other spending. And every organization that was on that paper, the aforementioned names as well as some other ones, all of them they weren't spending the majority of their money on the causes that they were that they were advertising. They were spending most of that money was going to line their pockets. Like the CEOs were making millions off of those donations, which is why I don't donate to none of them. Right? And with BLM, I just seen a parallel with that. That's the first thing that came to mind when I had thought of that. And it was one of them things that just made me not want to support it. All them t-shirts, all them face masks, all those other little memorabilia, all that money went, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just went to a place where it just made me feel like I shouldn't support it on an organization level as a business. Because the last thing I want to do when it comes to a cause that's supposed to be, for us like that, I mean, somebody's going to get rich off of it. Somebody's going to bank on it, and they're going to disguise it as them needing the money to help the organization grow, which I can understand, but when you see reports, and you see patterns of people trying to use your sorrow so they can make their profit, it's something very immoral about that, and I just can't support it. I just can't. So when it came to groups like, organizations like the BLM, like I said, as a message, I throw it out there. But as a business, I just can't rock with it. As a business. And this is the same thing I'm seeing with the hashtag Stop Asian Hate, the hashtag AAIP. I see the same thing happen with that. All I'm going to say is to y'all, man, don't let your emotions blind y'all from the actual cause. You know what I mean? In other words, don't let your passion for wanting to see your people get treated fairly, don't let that passion become profit for some other people who don't even really fuck with y'all like that. You got to be real careful. You know, I even say this to the LGBT community. Y'all got, the attention is all on y'all these days more so than ever. So y'all got a lot going on. But everywhere, every store y'all look in, it's like, you know, gay memorabilia, gay shirts, rainbow shirts, every fucking where. And I guarantee you, none of these organizations actually fuck with y'all. They just see y'all as a dollar sign. Now, me personally, my personal feelings towards the LGBT community, you know, whatever, you know, but, you know, just, it's y'all community. So y'all should want to be more careful about who y'all let support y'all. But then again, the LGBT community is such a broad community that they don't have like a central hub for anything, which, you know, I guess is a blessing and a curse for them, because can't no one person just take advantage of what they got going on. But then again, at the same time, it's like, I don't know, bro. I'm on my way to work right now, so I don't have the words for a lot of this this topic. It's just one of them things where it's like, you know, I just hope people just take the time to think about what they are supporting and don't get tricked into giving money to other people that's just going to make them rich. And, you know what I'm saying, the whole time you're being taken advantage of in a way that you didn't think so, because you're just so focused on the cause. That's basically it. So with that being said, man, I'm finna head inside. Hopefully you know, everything's all well. And yeah, man. You know, be humble in victory, be gracious in defeat, and show no mercy in battle. World Warriors Collective.